Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott. You, my dear friends, have wandered into the Prog Corner once again. Thank you so much to all my subscribers. If you are not subscribed to the Prog Corner already, what's wrong with you, man? Hit that subscribe button. You won't be sorry. Well, maybe you will, but it's free, so who cares? Today on the channel, man, something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm going to debunk some prog rock myths. 10 myths about prog rock. We're going to debunk, well, it's prog rock, so we're going to expand that to 12. Of course we are. It's the Prog Corner. That's what we do around here. And prog has been victimized by a lot of misinformation over the years, a lot of ballyhoo and propaganda against it. So I am going to take care of all those bad ideas that have been floating around about our beloved genre today. And I'm starting right now. I'm debunking some myths, and at number 12 is the idea that punk killed prog. Come on, man. That didn't happen. Absolutely not. Yeah, the timeline works, right? Because you're talking about, the latter part of the 70s. Disco and punk both came up at the same time, but they did not kill prog, man. Absolutely not. The fans and, the music press were certainly, clamoring for change. But I'm telling you, man, at the label level, Yes could have released anything, and Amit Erdogan would have put it out. Genesis ditto. King Crimson had free reign to do whatever they wanted to. So, there weren't any restrictions from the labels. It was the bands that did it to themselves, man. They were feeling the pressure. It was all internal. So, punk killed prog. I say rubbish to that at number 11. Here's one I read about all the time. Phil Collins ruined Genesis. Yeah, I get what they're saying. Clearly Genesis had two eras, the Gabriel era and the Collins era. But, if you're paying attention, man, A Trick of the Tail, Wind and Wuthering, and then there were 3 and Duke are 4 amazing albums. Yeah, the stuff that came out later was super commercial, but there was some good stuff mixed in there too. So the idea that Phil Collins ruined Genesis is ridiculous, because a lot of those hits during the 80s were not written by Phil, right? I mean, Tony and Mike need to take some responsibility. I mean, look at what Mike did outside of Genesis. If there is anything more commercial than Mike and the Mechanics, I don't know what it is. So, yeah, you can't blame Phil for all this. It's just that his solo career was, just everywhere, and it was in your face, and, people grew to dislike him, and I get that, but he did not ruin Genesis, not even close. It's stupid. So to that I say, claptrap. At number 10, King Crimson invented prog, and a corollary to that would be In the Court of the Crimson King is the first prog album. No. We did this already. I covered this a couple weeks ago in an episode called The Origins of Prog, where I went through 25 albums that came out before In the Court of the Crimson King, all of which pointed to prog. So, prog was not something that just developed overnight. It was a process, right? It was a gradual thing that, led from one thing to another. And then we finally did end up within the Court of the Crimson King, which you can make a case as the first full-fledged prog album. But to say that there was no prog rock before King Crimson is nonsense. Absolutely it is. At number 9, debunking myths about prog rock. Prog rock is too pretentious, or it's too serious, is a major complaint that people hear all the time. And I get that, prog rock is serious business, man. It's serious music. It was meant to be taken seriously. The practitioners of prog fancied themselves to be the heirs of, Rachmaninoff and Mussorgsky and Tchaikovsky. So yeah, they were taking their stuff real serious. But, at the same time, there was a lot of winking and nodding going on. The sequined capes and the cod pieces and the Persian rugs. They knew what was going on. It was fun for them. They were having a good time. And why not? Why can't prog rockers act like rock stars every now and then? And they deserved it, absolutely. But, to say that it was too serious kind of ignores the fact that a lot of prog has a real big sense of humor. Anybody heard of Frank Zappa? Or how about the entire Canterbury scene? Or what about ELP's little, comedy bits? And Genesis always used humor in their music. So to the idea that prog is too pretentious, I say hogwash. At number 8, debunking myths about prog rock today, and that is it's just music for musicians. Yeah, and this one might have a little bit of credence to it. I'm not gonna lie. There is a little bit of I've suffered years for my music. Now it's your turn going on. I get that. All the twiddly biddly stuff. I mean, people talk about, yeah, prog is just, a 2-minute song on the front, 2-minute song on the back, and then a bunch of fiddly bits in the middle. That's a little bit reductive, and I don't agree with that at all. Is prog rock overly complex? Well, just because something is complex doesn't make it good or bad. Just because something is simple doesn't make it good or bad. And I look at probably one of the highlights of the entire Yes career, and it's 3 chords. Right? It's 3 chords at the end of Starship Trooper. 3 chords over and over and over and over, and Steve Hodge is going crazy over the top of it. That's not very complex to me. Music doesn't have to be complex to be good. And if it's simple, that doesn't automatically make it bad. I love punk rock, so what can I say? So to the idea that music is, prog is just music for musicians, I say phooey to that idea. At number 7, prog rock is a boys' club. Historically, there's been a little bit of truth to that. We always point to Annie Haslam and Sonia Christina because there just weren't that many women in prog rock in the early days. Yeah, we can look at Dagmar Krause and some other people, absolutely. But things have changed. It's not like it used to be, man. We've got a whole bevy of great, great musicians that happen to be female that are in the prog universe right now. I implore you to watch a video that I did a couple months ago called Women in Prog, where I ranked the top 100 women in prog, and I'm telling you, I could have gone with the top 200 because I left off so many great artists. Absolutely, the modern era with the Christina Booths and the Heather Findleys and on and on and on it goes. Jenny Puertas over at Agusa, forget about it. So to the idea that prog is merely a boys' club, I say malarkey to that one. Absolutely. Number 6, prog is just a British thing. Well, we're going to be getting into some depth on that subject Sunday, the Sunday prog stream. It's going to be US versus the UK, the ultimate prog battle, where I've got 2 Yanks versus 2 Brits. It's going to be amazing. Hoping to have the great Andy Edwards and Jim Newstead on the UK side, and then me and Scott Davis from Mythologic will take the US side. But the idea that prog rock is just a British thing is ridiculous. I refer back to that episode I did about the origins of prog, and I went through 25 albums that came out before In the Court of the Crimson King, and I think 20 of them were from the US. So the whole idea that it started in the UK and it was primarily a British thing is absolutely wrong. It started in the US, it got developed in the UK, and from there it spread to the world. So the idea that prog is merely a British thing, foolishness, I say. Absolute foolishness. Number 5 prog myths we're going to debunk here, and that is prog rock fans are snobs. They're elitists. The prog snob is a thing, I guess. But every single band, every single genre has that fringe element that can be really, really annoying. You talk about Dream Theater fans, right? Being of a kind, Rush fans. It's every band, man. Every band circles the wagons. The fans of that band, they protect them and they can do no wrong in fandom. But if you really look hard at a prog rock fan's record collection, you're going to see all kinds of stuff, man. Me, myself, personally, like 90% of what I listen to is prog, but I listen to a lot of punk and indie and other stuff as well. I don't just listen to prog, almost. And I know every single prog rock fan that I talk to loves that stuff, this stuff that's kind of sort of prog, not necessarily 100% prog. We have very open minds about music. Yeah, we love what we love, and we are going to defend our prog rock to our last breath. But when it comes to other forms of music, I contend that prog rock fans are the most open-minded of all fandom because we are used to the idea of different types of music ending up in our stew that we call prog rock. So the idea that prog rock fans are nothing but a bunch of snobs and elitists, poppycock, I say to that. At number 4, all the lyrics are just about elves and fairies. The fantasy lyrics is kind of a thing. It's a trope. People talk about prog, and that's maybe like the first thing they go to. And I find precious little evidence of that type of lyricism within prog. Yeah, we look at John Anderson's mysticism perhaps a little bit, but I contend that a lot of this stems from early prog and early rock and roll being very indebted to J.R. Tolkien, Bo Hansen over in Sweden and Led Zeppelin in the UK, really getting immersed in Tolkienism. And then you look at some of the artwork. It was more fantasy than some of the lyrics sometimes, right? I mean, Close to the Edge was about Siddhartha, right? It had nothing to do with fantasy. But then you look at that Roger Dean cover and you're transported to another world. So I think the artwork might have a little something to do with that. But if you break down most prog rock songs, they have nothing to do with fairies or woodland elves or, time travel. That's a small percentage of what prog is all about. So the idea that prog rock lyrics are nothing but, a bunch of fantasy stuff, I say baloney. Absolute baloney. At number 3, prog rock is nothing but a bunch of long songs. And yeah, we look at the long song. It is definitely a part of what makes prog rock so great. But it's not necessary. Gentle Giant, anyone? I mean, come on, man. They had one song over 10 minutes in their entire catalog. So it's absolutely not a prerequisite at all. And in fact, some bands never put out a big, long epic or whatever. You look at Genesis, they got one epic, right? I mean, King Crimson's got one epic. It's not important. The length of the song is not important. What the long epic is just a product of is artists throwing all the rules away. Yeah, we can do a 1-minute song. We can do a 20-minute song. It does not matter. So, the long form, if you look at modern prog, a lot of modern prog doesn't even have long songs. Every year I do my best epic, and every year it gets harder and harder because not many bands are, doing the epic songwriting anymore. So the idea that long songs are, a big part of prog rock, I say flap doodle. I don't even know what that means. I Googled it. At number 2, prog rock has no soul. Oh, I've heard this over and over. And the Atlantic did an article like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I think it was 7 years ago. It was 2017, talking about how prog rock is the whitest music of all. And you don't see a whole lot of black faces. You don't see a lot of people of color in the prog sphere. I don't really know why that is, but I don't see a whole lot of white people in R&B. It is what it is, man. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong or right about it. It just happens to be the case that a lot of white people in the 70s were listening to prog rock. I really can't explain it, but if you want to talk about singers with no soul, right? John Wetton has no soul? What are you listening to, man? Are you telling me Francesco de Giacomo sings with no soul? Come on, man. And we got some modern singers, man. We are absolutely blessed. We're spoiled for choice with some great, great prog rock singers in the modern prog arena. Guys like Einar Solberg from Leprous, Jargon from Verbal Delirium, Mark Truiak from Unitopia, the late, great David Longden. How about that? Bo West from Evership. These guys all sing with soul. So the idea that prog rock has no soul is absolute blather. Yeah, it is. It's blather. I just learned that word today. And finally, at number 1, the number 1 myth we're going to debunk about prog rock, and that is prog is dead. Dead and buried. Oh, man, you people, you should know better. If that were the case, would there be a YouTube channel called The Prog Corner? I think not. If that were the case, would you have a beautiful, glossy monthly called Prog Magazine that comes out and fills our minds with great stuff? I think not. Would there be a cruise to the edge? Oh, man. You look at that lineup for this cruise coming up. It's ridiculous. Rick Wakeman just signed up. Robert Fripp's going to be on the boat. Come on and on and on. You've got Marillion Weekends and you got Morse Fest on both sides of the Atlantic. Yeah, that sounds like a genre that's dead to me, right? I say the idea that prog rock is dead is absolute balderdash. Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I just debunked some myths about prog rock for you there. Tomorrow on the channel, we are going to be doing an album review. We're talking about the brand new one from Returned to the Earth. I love this one. Stalagmite Steeple. Really, really strong. And then, like I said, Sunday, the Sunday Prog stream, man. 1 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be the U.S. versus the U.K., the ultimate Prog battle. Who you got? Anyway, punks, I love you. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, and God save the king. Save King Chucky. Oh, Chucky needs your saving right now. Yeah, he does. He needs to swim to America so we can get our hands on him and lay them hands of healing on him. Oh, yeah. Our prayer warriors are working overtime 24/7. Absolutely they are. We're going to do some spells, and we're going to do some incantations, and then we're going to drink some poison, and then you know what we're going to do, boys and girls. You know it. We're going to dance with them snakes. Woo, yeah, we're dancing with snakes. Look at us. Oh, yeah. And we're not going to get bit by them rattlesnakes because we got the faith, my friends. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm an idiot. Peace.